Hi everyone, so today we're going to be talking about Disney Fastpasses. We're going to talk about sort of what they are, how you get them, and what kind of rides to prioritise and which ones kind of do first.
There are definitely some rides for which it's a really great idea to pick up Fastpasses as soon as you can get them available because they will go very quickly. So we'll tell you what a few of those are and some of those ones that we just really like to get.
Okay, to start off with, what is a Disney Fastpass? Well, we're going to be talking specifically about Walt Disney World because in recent years it's actually changed from what it's like in sort of Disneyland. In Walt Disney World, a Fastpass just lets you come back and get on, well, it's kind of like a shorter queue for a ride, isn't it? You still have to queue, like you might walk on, but it's very rare. You just get to get priority seating on like the next couple of rides, if that makes sense.
So where the regular queue might be about 60 minutes, you might be finding that the Fastpass line will be sort of about 20 minutes. And the way it works is you make your picks, you pick your Fastpasses, and you get a time. You go back at that time, you've got a bit of a window, it's about an hour, isn't it, from the start time. And you walk up, you scan your magic band on the thing if you've got one, and they let you in the queue. And you just sort of queue for a shorter time from that starting point of your window. So to make your Fastpass selections, you can do it online on the My Disney Experience app, and you sign on, you enter in your details, you go to the day that you want to go, you go to the park that you want to go to, and you have a look and see what's available. And they'll give you a list of times for the attractions, and you'll say, yep, I want a Fastpass for this one here, and this one here, and that one there, and you can pick 3 of them.
And then on the day, once you've used those 3 up, you can then have the opportunity to pick another one. And it's usually from what's left or available that day. So depending on your party size is kind of how more likely you are to get sort of some of the better Fastpasses. And then once you've used that one up, you can get another one after that, and it keeps kind of rolling until you've either park closes or there's none left.
We found that lots of people were not going back and checking the kiosks, so this is actually one of our top tips for doing it, is once you've used up your 3, immediately go find a kiosk and have a look at what's left, because the sooner you can do that, the better off you'll be and the more of a selection you'll have.
Disney has recently changed it, so you can now actually do the extra Fastpasses on the app as well on your phone. So you don't just have to go to the kiosk, although if you don't want to take your phone to the park with you, you can sort of go to the kiosk and do them there, but they do now let you do them on your phone. So we actually booked most of our Fastpasses for around midday. This was mainly because first thing in the morning, you can usually get on a ride pretty quickly. There's not too many people in the park. And if you book them later in the afternoon, you're less likely to be able to do something afterwards because, you know, you've kind of used up your Fastpasses, and by that time it's kind of usually almost closing. So we suggest sort of booking them around lunchtime. It gives you a chance to get in there, do some of the rides really early in the morning, do your Fastpasses around lunchtime, and then get a few other ones in the evening as well.
One thing to be aware of is that some parks, like Epcot and Hollywood Studios, have a tiering system where you can only pick one thing from each tier to do as a Fastpass. So if you've got 3 Fastpasses available, you can't pick all 3 rides from the same tier, so you do have to kind of spread them out a bit, which I think is a little bit of a shame, but it's not too bad. We found they didn't really affect our trip that much. It's just something to be aware of if you were planning to go to Epcot, say, and get Fastpasses for Test Track, Mission Space and Soarin'. You can only pick one of those, isn't it?
So that brings us on to kind of what suggestions we have to pick for each parks. Now this is purely from us just going quite regularly for the last few years and picking sort of few different Fastpasses and deciding which ones were actually worth it and which ones probably you could have saved for something else. So I think if we go park by park, we can kind of go through that. Obviously we're going to be going through the 4 parks because the water parks don't have Fastpasses because it's never really that busy, so you're usually okay. So I think if we start with Magic Kingdom, and we'll go for the ones that we would recommend and the ones that we maybe wouldn't.
Alright, so our top pick for Magic Kingdom would at the moment probably be Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
If you can get it.
It's a hard Fastpass to get. It definitely runs out quite quickly. It's not quite as bad as some of the ones on our list, but is definitely one that I would say if you're planning to ride without having to wait 90 minutes is a definite priority. Make that your first pick for the Magic Kingdom. Find a nice time, get your ride booked in, and just don't have to worry too much when you turn up and there's a 90-minute, 120-minute queue.
Definitely. I mean, I think our list is mainly going to be based around the experience of the ride versus the time it takes to queue for them, because that, I think for us, is what it comes down to. Would I enjoy the ride as much if I was waiting 2 hours to ride it?
The answer is definitely no. It's a fun ride. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of great. It's not something that I'd willingly wait 60, 90, 120 minutes in Florida heat for if I can avoid doing so. don't let anything that we're saying put you off. This is just one of the things we would like to skip that wait wherever we can, and I would definitely suggest that you make it one of your top picks.
Just a side note as well, if you are not fortunate enough to get the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train Fastpass, or if you don't want it, literally going after a thunderstorm and kind of waiting, because they always close those kind of outdoor rides during a storm, and if you can hover around, as soon as that reopens, the queue's usually dead, because most people don't want to wait either outside in a queue line like that, or will just go do something else and use their fast pass later. So that's always a really good time to go back to those kind of outdoor rides. Same with Thunder Mountain as well. So for our second recommendation, I would kind of pick depending on your family situation. If you've got kids, I would say Peter Pan's Flight is a great one, or if you're really, really into Peter Pan. The queue time for that is usually about 60 minutes, like minimum. Sometimes you can get there and it's a bit shorter, but that's kind of the average.
One of the problems with this ride is, in fact, the queue line. It's really fun for people to play around in, and that means that combined with the slow-moving ride vehicle, the queue moves so slowly. So even though there might be less people waiting for it than another attraction, it's just got a lengthier queue, purely because of that, in my opinion.
And if you're more like us, our number 2 would definitely be Splash Mountain, but at a specific time. I would recommend booking this between 12 and 3 o'clock, the hottest points of the day, because it's so refreshing to go on Splash Mountain when it's really hot. And that's also usually when the queue is the longest, because everyone else has the same idea.
And it is so nice just sailing past that queue, getting almost straight on the couple of times that we've done it recently, and just, having a really nice Splash Mountain, middle of the day, cool you off in the heat.
So at number 3, personally, our recommendation would be Thunder Mountain, and the reason we picked this over Space Mountain is purely the queue. If you've ever queued for any period of time in Thunder Mountain, you'll know what we're talking about. It is so hot in that queue line and humid and muggy. It's kind of outside but under shade, but it's kind of really warm in there. It's really unpleasant. Even when we go through the fast pass queue, going through the inside of the building, I'm always get really claustrophobic and really anxious, just because it feels horrible in there.
Something about that queue line, I don't know what it is, I don't know how it's happened, it's just pretty terrible, if I'm honest. It's another one of these ones with interactive features, so that slows people down moving through it, and the only source of cooling is really some pretty terrible fans that don't really do a great job because they're blasting around warm air constantly. It's one of our least favourite queues to be in. We absolutely hate it, so we'll take any chance that we can to just be in there as short a time as possible. And Space Mountain, by comparison, inside, air conditioning, if you're waiting there for 45 minutes, it's not going to be that bad. So
once you've got your first 3, after that point, it's completely up to you. I always think that once you've got the 3 that you want at the times you want, everything else is a bonus. Now when we go, it's just 2 of us, so getting extra fast passes isn't that difficult. For example, when my family went and there were 6 of them, they really struggled to get any real good fast passes in the evening. So if you are a larger group, expect there not to be as many options available, but it's also quite good if you want to do a character meet and greet without sort of waiting. Some of the smaller rides, I know we did Winnie the Pooh and we literally just walked onto it. It was only a 20-minute queue, but it was 20 minutes we didn't have to wait. So it's just kind of weighing up then. If you can get something within the next 15-20 minutes, hey, that's shorter than you would have been queuing anyway.
And what you can do is you just use that single fast pass and then just go straight back and get another one. So it's not like you're really wasting anything, because you can have as many as you like after those 3, just as long as you do them one at a time and they've got things left to give you. So
the fast passes we wouldn't recommend getting, any that kind of are more like a theatre show type thing, which take a lot of people. So like Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, Stitch's Great Escape. An experience where a lot of people can go in there at once, because you're not really going to be saving any time, because you're probably all going to be going at the same time. Maybe you'll get to pick a seat first, but the likelihood that you're in the same show is pretty high.
Yeah, if they're loading shows every 30 minutes, unless you happen to turn up exactly when they're loading a show, you're not gonna get in any quicker. You're just still gonna be waiting around with people. So we would suggest skipping those, unless it's something that you absolutely 100% really want to do, and you want that peace of mind of knowing that no one's gonna beat you to the queue for it. Fine, fair enough, do that. Whatever you like, it's just not one that we'd personally do.
So in Epcot, there aren't any fast passes in World Showcase, so this is kind of how we would plan our day if we were doing Epcot. Now World Showcase usually opens around 11:30, depending on what time the park opens, so you have some time in the morning where everyone is going to be in the Future World, the land sort of section of the park. So actually in this instance, it is probably a good idea to get your fast passes first thing in the morning, just because that's when they're going to be the busiest, because that's kind of where everyone is until World Showcase opens.
Now, for the tiers in Epcot, there are 2 tiers, Group A and Group B. You can pick 1 from Group A and 2 from Group B. And I will read you Group A now. It's Illuminations Reflections of Earth, which is a Fastpass viewing area for the fireworks in the evening. Soarin', Test Track, Living with the Land, and both Mission Space, orange and green.
Living with the Land is in the top tier?
Living with the Land is a top tier attraction in Epcot. Now, Group B is the Disney Pixar Short Film Festival, Journey into Imagination with Figment, Spaceship Earth, The Seas with Nemo and Friends, Turtle Talk with Crush, and the Epcot Character Spot.
The structuring thing baffles my mind. Like, I know I really like Living with the Land, but would I pick that Fastpass over Soaring?
No, 100% not. This park is actually quite easy to prioritise your Fastpasses for. It's Soarin'. 100% of the time, every time you go, pick Soarin' as your first Fastpass, because otherwise they will go very quickly and the ride will instantly jump up to sort of 60-minute wait, and then 90-minute once you sort of hit midday. Most of the time that we go, that's what it's been at.
I know they're opening another theatre in the Soarin' attraction, but like, you can change, and this is something that we haven't really spoken about yet, you can change your fast passes at any point up until when they become available. You can change the time and you can change the attraction. Now, when you're booking your fast passes 60 days in advance, it's definitely a good idea to get the hardest to get fast passes, and then if you do change your mind nearest the day, obviously change them or cancel them. And don't be one of those people that books all the hardest to get fast passes and never uses them, because that's not nice. Like,
that's a separate rant.
Yeah, if you're not going to use it, you can just remove it and pick something else that then becomes a free fast pass, or you can save it for something later in the day. But yeah, as Ash said, definitely Soarin'. The reason that we say this is Test Track is pretty much usually a walk on if it's the first thing you head to in the morning. We didn't even get, we did get the park open, didn't we? And then headed straight to Test Track and walked straight on. And then Mission Space, again, depending on what colour you're going on. Green is usually a walk on. I mean, I wouldn't personally do either, again. But orange is usually the one with the queue, green's a walk on. So even if you want to do green, see if you like it, and then maybe later in the trip book a fast pass for that, you can do that.
One of the things I've noticed with Mission Space Orange is that it actually calms down a lot, sort of late afternoon, later in the evening. I've usually found that there's not been that much of a queue, so you can kind of, if you do want to do it, maybe leave it till later than day and just sort of drop by and do that one.
Everyone does want to do it after dinner.
That's pretty much the reason, I think. So, you know, you can have a bit of a gamble on that one. I mean, we're trying to give advice, but we have no idea what the crowd levels are going to be like when you're actually there. Definitely check out the information boards and just sort of think, oh, Mission Space is looking a bit low in the queue levels right now. We'll just go do that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, and the other ones, like Living with the Land, don't even bother. Like, when we went, I think they said it was a 20-minute queue, and it was like 5 minutes. Like, I don't even think that queue line can hold 20 minutes worth of queue.
It took us longer to walk through the entire queue system than there were people there. It was literally a huge empty space in front of us, and it was just a big walk to the boat. That's all the queue that we did for that ride. It's definitely a great ride, and
I love it.
100% one of our favourites, but it does not need to be your tier 1 fast pass pick for Epcot.
Fast passes for fireworks baffle my mind. You literally look up, like, there isn't, especially in Epcot when there are so many. I mean, we can roll up to the, what is that World Showcase Lagoon thing? Oh, it's got a name, I've forgotten it.
Yeah, the central bit.
Yeah, you know what it's called, but you can roll up that like 2 minutes before the fireworks start and still get an unobstructed view. Like, we did do the fast pass for that, and it's just a little bit further in front of everyone else, and you had a little bit more space, but I wouldn't have necessarily wasted a fast pass on it. It's just because we were going and we knew that we wouldn't be doing anything else, so it just kind of fit our plan. And as for tier 2, just really pick what you want. None of those rides, oh god, I've got hair. None of those rides get too busy. I would personally probably prioritise the Seas of Nemo's and Friends. Ones to avoid, Figment. Journey to Imagination Figment is a complete waste of a fast pass, because I actually think it would be more embarrassing to use a fast pass on that ride than walk through normally, because you go, yeah, fast pass, and then you just walk through the normal queue because there's no one over there. Looking forward, when Anna and Elsa's Summer Hus and the Norway ride reopens, I'm going to say they're probably going to be high fast pass priority items, but until then, these are our picks. Okay, for Hollywood Studios, I personally recommend you get 3 fast passes for the only rides that are now left open, and then be done with it. No, but seriously, there is still a tier system even though nothing is open in Hollywood Studios.
Tier A, which you get to pick one from, again similar to Epcot, is Beauty and the Beast live on stage, The Great Movie Ride, Fantasmic, Rock and Roller Coaster starring Aerosmith, and Toy Story Midway Mania. Group B, from which you can pick two, are Disney Junior live on stage, for the first time in forever, a Frozen sing-along celebration, Indiana Jones Epic Stunt Spectacular, Muppet Vision 3D, Star Tours 2 The Adventures Continue, The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror, Voyage of the Little Mermaid, the Comedy Warehouse Holiday Special, which is a seasonal attraction that may or may not be open depending when you go.
This, I think, is the hardest Fastpass selection to make because all of the rides that you would want a Fastpass for are in Tier A or Tier 1 or whatever it was. They're the ones that you're going to want, and the fact that you can only pick one, and also the fact that the Great Movie Ride is in there baffles my brain. Like, would you pick the Great Movie Ride? I suppose if you've got like older people in the group, you might, but Great Movie Ride? Toy Story Midway Mania or Rock and Roller Coaster? I'm gonna go for these ones. So our recommendation would be Toy Story Midway Mania, just again because the queue is always ridiculous in there. I know they've now opened a second track, but it still is more than we usually are willing to queue for something.
I enjoy the ride. I think it's a good ride. I don't think it's a wait 120 minutes ride. It's definitely one of those ones where the quicker I can get through that queue, the more I enjoy the ride at the end of it, because it does feel a little short if you've been waiting 60, 90, 120 minutes, which are all queue times that I've seen.
Yeah, and if you can't get that one, my second recommendation would be Rock and Roller Coaster, although this one would be our second pick because they do have a single rider line.
The single rider line for this, I've always found, moves incredibly quickly compared to some of the other ones. There are even numbered seats in each car, so any odd numbered group will always be paired with a single rider, and I've found that the wait time for this is usually about sort of 15-20 minutes, even if the main queue is sort of about 60 to 90 minutes. It just moves quite swiftly.
And with Fantasmic, again, I wouldn't personally waste a Fastpass on this because we like to do the Fantasmic dining package, and what that means, if you sit and have a meal at a set number of restaurants, you then get priority seating for Fantasmic. Obviously this does cost money, whereas Fastpasses are free, but the seats you get are incredible. The last time we went and did it on our Disney dining plan, so we didn't actually even pay for it, was we got front and centre. We had a whole section that was like cordoned off just for if you're doing the dining plan, so if you had a regular Fastpass, you were put elsewhere. And it was really good. I mean, they didn't really fill it at all, and we had loads of space, and it was really, really good. I really would recommend it.
Our Tier 2 picks for this park would definitely be Twilight Zone Tower of Terror and Star Tours 2, both of which I think are fantastic rides, really great theming, and quite often, quite sizable queues. So getting those as Fastpasses if they're attractions that you want to do is a really good idea.
As I'm going to say really quickly, these are just our choices of what's prioritised for like queue times and stuff. If you have someone in your group that really, really wants to do a ride, say they really want to do Figment in Epcot, or they really want to do Indiana Jones in Hollywood Studios, get the Fastpass for that. We're just saying these are the things that we think would benefit you time-wise, not necessarily the things that you would prioritise over everything else.
On an average day, with nothing specific in mind, these are very good choices for Fastpasses. Okay, so the final park we're going to talk about is Animal Kingdom.
I have some very strong opinions on these Fastpasses and which ones to pick. So let me just break it down a little bit. First Fastpass that I would 100% recommend, unless you want to do a single rider, is Everest, Expedition Everest, because the queue for that is pretty much all outside under no cover, and if you've ever been to Animal Kingdom, you will know it's a very hot park, and there is a huge amount of trees, but they don't provide a lot of shade because the paths are usually not covered by anything, and it gets really hot and humid, and I find Everest is one of the worst for sort of heat in the queue lines. And also, it's really popular, so if you want to get on there quickly, I would recommend a Fastpass for that one.
Similar to Splash Mountain, I think one of the ones that we would recommend as well is Kali River Rapids. If you're intending to ride this ride, do what we suggested for Splash Mountain, put it at the middle of the day. Get a nice lunchtime, Kali River Rapids, cooling ride in the middle of the heat, and just sail past everyone else in the queue.
I mean, I will point out we did do this, and then changed our mind on the day, because we weren't really in the mood to get soaking wet at the time. So we were able to change it. I think we changed it to Kilimanjaro Safari at the time. But as I said, do the ones that you think are going to be the hardest to get, and you can change them on the day if you're not feeling getting wet. But at least you've got it and don't have to go back on yourself and change it. Okay, so the third Fastpass recommendation for Animal Kingdom, again, hear me out, is Primeval Whirl. This, you don't like, it's fair enough you don't like this ride, but if you do like it and want to do it, The queue is ridiculous. Like, it is so long and it's boring. There's nothing to look at. It's a very classic amusement park attraction where there's not a lot to do. The main attraction is the spinning of the ride. So if you want to do that, fast pass it, 100%. And now some people might be like, well, why didn't you pick Kilimanjaro Safari or Dinosaur? I'll tell you why right now. So Kilimanjaro Safari really is only, I mean, they're doing the night time now, so that might be worth doing. I personally think it is best first thing in the morning, as soon as you get to the park. And believe me, there's a lot of people that agree with me because there's always people running for it. So if you can, go and do it as soon as you get to the park. That's when most of the animals are going to be out. It's a bit cooler. It's a really good way to start the day. And you can also go for breakfast at Tusker House, which is really good, and that's right next door. So that would be my recommendation. If you don't get to do that, or you don't want to go early and you have a fast pass spare, get one. But for me, if you get there early enough, you don't need one. Dinosaur. Now, if you have seen our videos before, you know that is my favourite ride. However, you never, ever, ever will need a fast pass for Dinosaur. I have seen the queue at 60 minutes, at 80 minutes, at 30 minutes. I have timed myself every single time, and bearing in mind in summer I went every day. I have never queued more than 20 minutes for that attraction, ever. The queues go really quickly. They have big jeeps that are constantly churning through people really fast. The longest part is waiting to get into the room where you watch the video. That's it. I would never get a fast pass for that, ever. I've never had to queue that long. So everyone's going to be like bombarding me with messages now going, we had to wait a 60 minutes for that. I doubt it. I would say you're probably lying, but that's why I wouldn't pick one. And again, with the shows, as we said, they're shows. As long as you get there early enough, like 30 minutes before the show starts, you'll get a seat. And
grab a map at the beginning of the day, look at the show times, decide when you want to go, turn up a bit before that. Mm-hmm. It's very unlikely that you will not be able to get in if you get there 25, 30 minutes before the show. If you're intending to show up at showtime, you might be a bit sort of hard pushed to get a seat sometimes. But if you're there, not even ridiculously early, just a bit before the show starts, you should be fine in most cases. So we would say, don't use a fast pass for it, just take the queue for those.
And with those shows as well, the first show and the last show of the day are always the quietest. So if you can do either of those, that's always perfect. So like, I think the 10 o'clock, it's like a 10 or 10:30 show for Festival of the Lion King. That's always a good one to go to first because people get the rides out of the way and then they think about the shows in the afternoon. So that would be what I would recommend for Animal Kingdom. And it's not done me wrong so far.
Okay, so those are our top tips for fast passes. As with all of our tips videos, and as we've said multiple times throughout the video, this is just what we think and these are just our opinions. It is perfectly alright to decide, well, no, actually I want to get a fast pass for this, and to just go do that. If that's what you want to do, that's fine. These are just some of the things that we've learned doing this so many times. Yeah,
I mean, one thing I always get asked from my parents kind of rent out my services of helping family friends book their holidays, and the first thing they always are like, oh, what fast passes should I get? Or I might just decide on the day. And I'm like, no, because you won't get a Toy Story or a Seven Dwarfs Mine Train fast pass on the day. You will literally have to be there at 60 or 30 days. I think I had to get up at 4 a.m. to do this. I know they're changing it now, so it's 12 p.m, so it's not as bad. But when I did it, I had to get up at 4 a.m, booked them all. Totally worth it. The 10 minutes it spent doing that saved us hours of queuing time on holiday. So if you're not sure or you have no idea what fast passes to pick, these would kind of be our recommendations when you get out there and you get a sense for it a little bit more. As we said, you can change them, you can cancel them, but at least you know that you've got them if you do want to do them, and if you don't, the other ones will probably be available. So we hope that this has helped you out a little bit, understanding the Fastpass system a little bit more. If you do have any questions that we haven't gone over, please leave them in the comments and we will respond to them as best we can to help you. And thank you for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye!
Bye!